Giant Ferris wheels, mountain coasters, and go-karts? Cherokee has none of that, and somehow that's what makes it special. Welcome to Bear Facts, where we explore the Smoky Mountains one bear fact at a time. Welcome to our channel, everyone. Today we're going to explore the Smoky Mountains, but instead of seeing them from the giant Ferris wheels or mountain coasters often found in Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg, we're going to experience those mountains through the tales, shops, traditions, and attractions connected to the first people who called these mountains homes. Yes, we're heading to Cherokee, North Carolina, a place where people lived long before the earliest European settlers arrived, and where the stories are as old as the mountains themselves. And if you keep listening, I'm going to share a secret I didn't even know about Cherokee until just recently, a secret that I think is a treasure most people should try to see once. So let's head over to Cherokee. Now, for those of you who have never heard of Cherokee, North Carolina, let me tell you a little bit about it. First, let's tell you how to get there. And the easiest way to get there is usually by taking 441 through the Smoky Mountain National Park from Gatlinburg. You can also get there via US 40, or for those who seriously want an adventure, there is a secret entrance from Cades Cove. Warning, I highly suggest only attempting this if you have an all-wheel drive vehicle and love to get mud on your tires. From the Cades Cove Loop Road, you can leave the park by taking the Parsons Branch Road. This is a seasonal road and it will lead you to US 129. If you take a left, you'll be on the tail of the dragon. If you take a right, it'll lead you to Cherokee. And it is a seriously long drive, but a great adventure. The best way to describe Cherokee is one word: timeless. For good or bad, Cherokee, North Carolina is a place of history, adventure, and resilience, where old stories, mountain traditions, and the spirit of the Cherokee people still echo through the valleys and rivers of the Smokies. It's completely different from the bright lights of Pigeon Forge and the crowded sidewalks of Gatlinburg. There are very few big attractions, no mountain coasters, and very few bears willing to stand around for photos with tourists. To some, this might sound like a slow death. To others, it sounds like salvation, because Cherokee is a place where the mountains feel older, quieter, and a little bit more mysterious. A place where time seems to slow down and where you can stop and breathe in the mist and not choke on the exhaust fumes from the backed up traffic. For those who are paying attention, you will quickly learn that Cherokee is a place where stories still matter, where storytelling has long been woven into the culture and traditions of the Cherokee people and remains a foundation of their culture and society even today. In fact, when you leave the Great Smoky Mountain National Park and enter Cherokee, it's one of the very first things that they do is share a story. As you're coming down 441 and leaving the park and begin entering Cherokee, you'll notice some bear sculptures standing along the road. Many people just think that these are fun, whimsical statues that they put there for tourists to take pictures, but don't just pass them by or take a quick picture, because if you do, you're going to miss the importance and significance of these sculptures. The sculptures themselves are a story that the Cherokee people are sharing with visitors as they enter their lands. If you stop and take a look at the sculptures, this is the story they tell. It's the story how the bear lost its tail, and how a clever fox tricked the bear into sitting on some frozen river and using its tail to fish through the ice. The bear sat there so long in the freezing cold that when he finally stood up, his tail snapped off. Right there, as you're leaving federal lands, the Cherokee set the stage. It's one of those stories meant to entertain, but also teach a lesson about pride, patience, and foolishness. The Cherokee chose to tell a story that was probably a little bit more symbolic than most visitors realize. Even now, I can't help but wonder if the early European settlers were the fox in that story. As most visitors are entering Cherokee, all they see are the lack of big attractions or go-kart tracks. They don't see any big neon signs and lights and arcades, and they certainly don't see miles and miles of pancake houses. Instead, they feel a sense of emptiness as they enter Cherokee. It seems very quiet and very slow-paced. And because of that, a lot of people just drive through and don't fully understand it at all. And that's because Cherokee isn't trying to compete with Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge. They're telling a different story and they're sticking with it. The Cherokee people have lived in these mountains for centuries, long before there was ever a national park, before there were vacation rentals, hotels, and Ripley's. The town itself sits on what's called the Qualla boundary. The land is associated with the eastern band of the Cherokee people, and unlike many places in the Smokies that simply borrow the Native American names for marketing, Cherokee is authentic and true. Their history is deeply connected to these mountains and their story filled with both tragedy and resilience. The town sits along the Oconaluftee River and is surrounded by mountains on every side, mountains that the Cherokee people have called home for generations. Against incredible odds, the Cherokee people fought to remain connected to their homeland, officially securing land as a sovereign nation, establishing the rights to govern their own people. And even today, you could still feel that connection everywhere. Their language and culture have a strong presence all around, are reminders that you are not in North Carolina, USA, but rather stepping into a world that is tied to our history, but with stories and tales that never cross the Atlantic Ocean. After years of struggle and tribulation, the Cherokee people were finally able to reestablish their homes and families after they were finally recognized by the federal government in 1868 and were able to live peacefully. However, that peace changed once the Great Smoky Mountain National Park opened. Many people don't realize this, but Cherokee became a destination for travelers wanting to explore the mountains. And this was during the post-war years and marked a new golden age for the town. And Cherokee became a much bigger tourist hotspot than many people realize today. Families packed the roads during the height of the Roadside Americana with hotels and gift shops, attractions, and small family businesses that filled the area. Now, as Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg began to grow, the tourist industry started to shift away from Cherokee. And as people became more interested in go-kart tracks and Ferris wheels and bright neon lights and arcades, Cherokee wasn't willing to go in that direction. In fact, they held strong to their core beliefs. And because of that, you'll see that as you're driving into the town itself, you'll see a lot of older hotels, empty buildings, abandoned miniature golf courses, and bridges that probably should have been taken down decades ago. It feels almost like a ghost town, abandoned amusement park that someone just left and walked away from. And this is what visitors see first, and probably why Cherokee has taken so long to reestablish themselves, because people don't see right away that Cherokee is still very much still alive. So let's learn about some of the most popular attractions and things that people do when they are visiting Cherokee, North Carolina. As you're heading down Route 40 and other places in the general Smoky Mountain area, you're going to see signs for a place called Santa's Land. This is where Santa's Land is, in Cherokee, North Carolina. Santa's Land is a small family-owned theme park that opened back in the 1960s during the height of the American roadside attraction era. Santa's Land is filled with family-friendly rides, Christmas charm, funnel cakes, and hot dogs, along with being one of the very few places in all of the Smoky Mountains where you can legally feed the bears. It's a nostalgic time capsule, a piece of Americana sitting quietly at the base of the mountains, sharing stories and a border with the Cherokee people, both determined to survive against the odds. And while many attractions like this have disappeared over the years, Santa's Land is still standing after 60 years. It may be quieter and more weathered than it once was, but that's part of what makes it special. Walking through the park feels like stepping back into another era of family vacations and reliving a simpler time. How much longer it will remain is anyone's guess, but every season it stays open as another chance to experience a nostalgic piece of the Smoky Mountain history. If you want to learn more about Santa's Land, I have done a full video on them, and I'll leave a link at the end of the video for you to click on. Now, for those of you who want a little bit more of an outdoor experience, Cherokee is also known for their walking trails and waterfalls. They actually have two very popular, famous waterfalls in the area. The first is Mingo Falls, which is probably the most famous. It stands about 120 feet tall and is hidden in the peaceful forest just outside the town. This footage is a touch older, and it was raining at the time, making the falls feel fuller than usual. But the waterfalls have been around for a few years, and they remain basically the same and can be enjoyed year-round. The second one is Soco Falls. It's located on Highway 19 between Cherokee and Maggie Valley. Soco Falls can be enjoyed by taking a short path near the roadside, where two waterfalls come together in a beautiful mountain gorge. Fair warning, though the trails are short, there are some unpleasant stair climbing ahead of you and a few stray routes that travelers have to navigate. But if you love waterfalls, it's definitely worth tripping on a few routes and taking a couple stairs to see them. We've actually done a video on both waterfalls. I'll leave a link at the end of the video if you want to learn more. The Oconaluftee Island Park is another place that draws in visitors to Cherokee. Sitting along the Oconaluftee River in the middle of town, the park was developed as part of a public recreational area as the Cherokee tourism industry started to grow in the mid-1900s. Over the years, it's become a gathering place for families, fishermen, picnics, tubing, and community events. These shallow, slow-moving waters offer the perfect respite from the summer heat. Many families come here and picnic, enjoy the water, and just wade around, or sometimes they'll bring an inner tube and float down the river. Of course, the other reason that many people come to the Oconaluftee River is for its excellent fishing. Anglers from around the world come to Cherokee just to be able to enjoy these quiet, peaceful waters. Now, earlier on, I promised to share a secret treasure that you can find in the Smoky Mountains that you would never expect to find here, and that is this. There is an actual bamboo forest in Cherokee. Yeah, a bamboo forest. I know, I only thought you found them like in Asia. And yes, there is an Asian version of the bamboo that most people think about, but you're not going to find any koala bear here, though it would be somewhat startling to see a giant black bear approaching you. No, this isn't an imported bamboo forest from Asia, but rather a species of bamboo native to North America called river cane. Since it's a native species, we don't actually know the age or origin of this particular forest. However, its existence is no surprise to the Cherokee people because they have been using river cane for baskets and blowguns, arrows, and other crafts for generations. It's definitely a place to stop and take a break and walk around. Probably one of the most magical and mysterious things you'll ever experience in all of the Smoky Mountains. Now, if crafts and arts and things like that are something you're deeply interested, there is a lot of that can be found in Cherokee today. Visitors come here to experience authentic Appalachian and Cherokee arts and crafts that have been passed down through generations. Right in the middle of the town, you're actually going to find a museum of the Cherokee people that helps tell the story and history of the Cherokee people and about their connections to these mountains. Out of respect for their request not to take photography, I'm not showing you any photographs of the museum itself, but for a nominal fee, you can go in and support the museum and learn a little bit more about the Cherokee people. Now, for those of you who want to take a little piece of Cherokee back with you, right across the street is the Koala Arts and Craft Mutual, which gives visitors a chance to see and purchase handmade works created by Cherokee artists themselves. Inside, you'll find beautiful baskets, carvings, beadworks, and traditional crafts and other authentic pieces that reflect the culture and history of the people. You're also going to find a large room that gives you even more history of the people itself. It is free to get in. However, it is a little bit pricey, and for some people it might be out of their price range, but it's definitely worth stopping and taking a look. Now, for those of you who are looking for a little bit cheaper or maybe just a little bit more budget friendly, Cherokee has a lot of other shops as well. There are still rows of these small shops and restaurants that line 441 like in the olden day road shows. These shop fronts feature everything from t-shirts to moccasins to rugs and jewelry. Need a tacky souvenir? They got you covered. Looking for iced coffee and a quiet place to enjoy it? You can find it here. As you head further into town, you begin to see where the casino has made its mark. Though a lot less nostalgic and far more Vegas, the Harris Cherokee Casino is another major draw to the area. And whether casinos are your thing or not, there's no denying the impact it's had on the area, and its powerful presence is felt more here. The hotels closer to the casino are newer and a little bigger, and you see signs of modernization. But quite frankly, this isn't why I invited you on this journey to Cherokee, North Carolina. Casinos are nice and all, but they aren't what make up Cherokee. I would suggest turning back around and heading back until you find the bears. Not the real ones. Elks have a much stronger presence in Cherokee than the bear does nowadays. In fact, if you found a real bear in Cherokee, I'd be shocked. I've actually never seen one myself. I'm not saying they're not there, but it is very uncommon as the Cherokee people respect the bear and want it to be a wild animal, not a tourist trap. Instead, I would suggest going back and taking a closer look at the other sculptures that you see along the entire road and all throughout the town. These bears are storytellers, sharing with visitors the traditions, laws, history, and culture of their people. The sculptures are all hand-painted, some showing signs of their age, and others are far newer with glossy coats. Each bear is a symbolic representation of the trials and tribulations the people have endured and survived. Each story that the bear shares is of the tribe's contribution and sacrifices, sometimes about war veterans or also reminders to visitors of a more peaceful time, and of a culture who was forced to change and adapt to the new world they live in. But if you listen closely, you'll also hear the courage and resilience of the people and how their tale has not only endured, but continues to thrive. Similar to the story or the fable that they tell you as you enter the town, these bears are subtle storytellers that are telling about the Cherokee people and how their tale might have been cut at one point, but their story lives on. And I think that's what makes Cherokee memorable. It doesn't always try to polish away its age or its struggles. You could still see the layers of history here, the tourism boom, and then the quiet years of decline and abandoned buildings, the old roadside attractions and all that. But you can also see resilience. The Cherokee people are still here, and they're still strong, and they're still proud, and they're still storytellers. Cherokee may never feel as flashy or as crowded as Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge unless you visit the casino, but maybe that's exactly the point. This is a place where you slow down, a place where you listen to stories, and a place where rivers, mountains, bears, and old attractions are all sharing with you an amazing history, and hopefully one that you're willing to listen to. And honestly, I hope you do, because Cherokee is definitely worth visiting. I hope this video helps you plan your visit to the Smoky Mountains. You're getting an honest review from our personal experiences, but facts and things change, so please keep us in the loop if you learned anything new and want to share your experiences in the comments. Thanks again for visiting us at Bear Facts of the Smoky Mountains. Please click that like button and subscribe to our channel.